Now we're recording. Okay, so I think I had got to the point of just showing you how to use the planes. Is that right? Okay. Did you miss anything in that? Is it all sorted? Okay. All right. So what I haven't shown you, I've shown you basically the shortcut method for doing the mates. So when you bring a thing in, you select the parts that you want, or the planes that you want, and then you get given the mate. Obviously, there's another way of doing it is to go to the mate button here, and then you can select. There are three different tiers of mates. There are the standard mates, which are coincident, parallel, perpendicular, tangent, etc. And then advanced mates, which includes that width one, which I've shown you. Symmetric, which where you need to select like a plane or something. Profile center, which is new. I haven't seen that before. That I think is part of 2020-21. Path mate, which we can go through at some stage, not today because I haven't prepared for it. We need some drawings. And then mechanical mates are also interesting in that you can, it depends on the part that you've got. You can do things like cam. Slot is very easy. It uses slots. You can get things to move in and out. Hinges are very easy as well. Gears I've never used, but they look easy. And then screws, rack and pinions, and universal joints. So we can go through some of these. I think things like slot and cam and hinge would be useful. But obviously, anytime you want, you don't have to go through, you don't have to use the process that I've used. So for instance, if you've got, let's just exit isolate. If you've got a part, I think let's just select this and unmate it. I'm just going to delete all of those. Okay, so here's a neat trick before we carry on is, let's say, I'm going to move this out the way. Well, we don't need to do that either. Well, no, we can do it. Let's say I wanted to get at what's inside here. So let's not move that out the way. Let's say I wanted to get inside what's inside here to mate it, or to play with the mates. I can just hide this for the time being. So just, I think it's hide. And then for any two parts, if I want to see, like for instance, this looks like, no, that's okay. Let's say I wanted to find out about the mates between those three parts there. So I can right click, once I've got them selected, I can right click and isolate just those three parts, which makes it much easier now to access the parts that I want. Or I could just have two. You can see I'm actually missing some of these others. So let's exit isolate. And let's go like this. Let's just Windows select those ones, right click and isolate. So now I've got just the parts that I want. There you go. Let's say I wanted to play with the mates between that part and that part. I can do that. The other thing I can do is for any part that let's say you've got a mate that's not working anymore. Let's say it was this item here, and the mate did a big red thing, when this thing goes red. You can right click on the mate which is not working and also say isolate, and it'll isolate just those two parts so that you can play with them. So there's the coincident. Maybe I should go like this. Suppress them. I'm going to pull that apart, and then I'm going to, if I unsuppress, it's just going to go back to where it was. Okay, not sure what I was trying to aim at there. I was trying to find some way of getting this to give us an error. Okay, I do know how. Go back to this, edit it, and I'm going to select won't let me. It will, except it's the wrong one. Okay, won't let me do a bad thing. It's bad. It's nanny state. Hold on a second. I have to take my jacket off. I'm getting too hot. Okay, so Solidworks is getting better at preventing you from making mistakes. Okay, I'm not going to be able to do it. But if there wasn't a situation in which the two were wrong, then all you would have to do is click on the mate in the feature manager, and then above it, edit feature. And then you'll see that if you click on one of these items, it'll actually highlight. Sometimes it's quite difficult to see, but you can see it. You can see it by the way it changes in the drawing when I click on it. So I'm going to click on this face at router PCB populate, which is obviously the face on here, and you'll see it'll highlight the green. So if that's normally sort of, it says missing face, and then there's an angry red line here. So all you would do then is delete. You can either delete this item, that's the easiest, and then just go and reselect the part that you think is missing. So in this case, right, so that's wrong. So it'll give us an angry, no, it's not giving us an angry red. Coincident. Okay, I'm going to have to find a way of getting an error to happen and then show you that next time. So that there. In fact, this is a good example because now it's not mating where I want it to mate, so I can just quickly go and have a look. That one's the right face. It seems to be that's the wrong face. So that line there is at the top, and I don't want that, so I can delete this. And I can select this bottom face instead. Okay, it's done a reverse, and I can just click on here. I think it's that one, yes. So anti-aligned, it's called anti-aligned. So anti-aligned is the new name for flip mate alignment inside the actual mate, and then exit isolate. So I hope that helps. Any other questions that anyone might have? No. Alright, let me have a quick look at my notes because I know there were one or two other things that I needed to show you. No, that wasn't that. I think that's as much as I'm going to deal with on mates for now. So I'm going to exit this one. Exit this one. Okay. Right, so I was going to show you how to place a logo or something on your item, because this is something that you're going to have to do, I'm assuming, with your latest project. And I brought in this sheet metal part, which is one of the projects that we do for steers. I was going to show you how to wrap text onto this, but I was going to show you how to wrap a logo. The problem is there's some sort of mismatch between DXF files that I made previously and this version of Solidworks. So I'm going to try one more time to see if I can do that, because I've just redone the DXF file. So what I've done here is I've created this plane. If we edit it, you can see how I lined it up. So I actually took this previous plane here. Right. So I used that plane and I used these three vertices. So that one there, and then one of these corner ones, because I wanted a plane that essentially ran tangent to this curve. And the only way I could do that I could think of at the time, there might be an easier way, no, I think this is the best way, is to find the three vertices of the section of this curve that that plane would go through, if that makes sense. So I did the one plane, and then I created another plane perpendicular, offset from that by 10 millimeters, so it's offset from the face. And so the way that you'd bring a logo in is you'd select a plane or a face. In this case, you can't, I don't think you can select the face directly. You have to have a plane. You can actually select the face. It's just not going to place the graphic on nicely. Vion knows about this because we've been through it before. So you'd select the face or the plane, then you'd go to Insert and you'd go to DXF DWG and you'd find your DXF file. So I'm going to see this. I've just, in the break, I quickly remade this. Let's see if this will work. If it doesn't, at least we'll have the procedure down. So it'll give you this import dialog box. You can leave it exactly as it is. If you bring it as 3D curves, it'll bring through all the curves as separate curves, and that you don't want. So leave it as it is. Go to Next, and you can see faintly that there's a red item in here. The first thing I can do is I can go to white background so I can see more clearly what the logo looks like. And then the first thing I do straight away, because something you can't actually create any settings for, it always brings them in as inches. So I just go and change that to millimeters, and then it always brings in 2 layers. I'm not sure why, but we only need 1 layer. If I unclick that, you can see. Go to Next, and then inside here, what's interesting is that you can actually remove certain things. So let's say, for instance, I didn't want some of these items. So I'm shift selecting the parts that I don't want. Okay, so it could take a while. Okay, whoops, and then the scroll is backwards. Not sure if you can. You can actually window select. It's quite tricky though. Okay, I'm not going to worry too much about whether it brings everything in. And you can say remove entities, and so then it'll give you what you want, and then you say finish. You don't have to do any of that, by the way. Okay, so it did import it, but you can see it placed it in completely the wrong place. It just seems to place it on. This is something to do with the program. So it places it on the front plane, and then it won't allow me to access that thing. So that's the way you do it. If you've got it right to make your logo, which we'll deal with, I'll figure out how to get Windows to play nicely, but I'm going to delete that sketch. So I can't do that. So I'm going to have to show you just a simpler version of that. I can insert some text into here. So the text is under Sketch, and here in the second category, there's a text button, and you'll see it's immediately placed it on the back side. So I'm going to have to watch what I do with my text. So I'm going to type in here steers, and then I can go and, instead of using the document font, I can go and find a font that I want. So let's try this one, and then I can specify the size, although you can change it afterwards. So I'm just going to make it about 18 millimeters, and you can see it's actually put the logo in place. But if I rotate around, you can see it's actually going to give me the reverse of what I want. So I can go to this little button in the feature manager or in the properties manager, and I can say flip horizontal, and it'll put it in place. And once I'm happy with that, I can say OK. And so that's now in place. And now it's quite difficult to move it around, because what you have to first do is, let's see if I can remember what you have to first do. You have to right click on this item, and no, it's not that. It's at the top here. I can't remember how to do this. Let's just see if we can move these entities. So I can, if I say move entities, I can select those, and I should now be able to, I can't drag them. There we go. There it is. Okay, so when you move the entity, just click on this keep relations button, and you should be able to move it. Nope. Okay, I'm going to have to figure that one out. I did figure it out before we started, so we're going to have to leave it as it is. One more try. Cancel, no, I'm going to have to leave it as it is. So there's a way to place it, and that was going to be a very important part of what I told you. You can actually put dimensions in here. You can make this into a block. So we'll go through blocks at some stage. Blocks are much easier. Let's just try that, in fact. Insertion point. And so I can use... Okay, if you've got it as a block, then you can't, you see. If you've got it as a block, then you can move the whole lot around without having to select it line by line or to window select it. So you can see here that's actually a block, and I'm now a bit stymied by the way that 2020 works, although it might have nothing to do with them. Right, sorry about that. Let's exit the sketch and try that again quickly. Text. That's correct. So once you've got your text in place, which we'll get to at some other stage, you can exit the sketch, and then you can select that sketch, which might be a DXF, or it might be here the actual just text. If it's text, it's easier in some ways because it'll actually do this without any problems. Otherwise, you have to do some bridging, which I'll show you later. So once you've got that, you can go to the features tools, and then under wrap, you'll see wrap here. If it's a curved face, you'll have to wrap it. I think most faces. So there are three options here. You can emboss, which means come out, deboss, which means go in, or you can scribe, which means just put a line on there, and then you can break the face up into different faces. So it'll ask you then, it's got the sketch in place, it'll ask you which face, it's that face there, and then how deep do I want this to be. So I've got 0.2 millimeters, and then the pull direction, it'll automatically select what it thinks, but there's that little button. I can actually click, I can get that to click the other way, and it won't work, but so I'm going to leave it in that direction. Alright, and there we go. There you've got your text debossed into the item. So this, I think, is going to be very useful for what you guys are doing with your current project, and hopefully by next lesson I'll have figured out how to get it done, trying to get my programs to talk to one another.